A very warm welcome to the Meghalaya Legislative Research Fellows MLRF Roundtable discussion. The Meghalaya Institute of Governance, MIG, was created as one of the institutional support mechanisms of the Meghalaya Basin Development Authority with a vision to facilitate the political system, administration, and institutions for effective, efficient, accountable, responsive, and transparent governance for the benefit of all citizens. The focus areas of the institution include amplifying governance, human resource management, information and technology sharing, change management, strategy, performance, and upworks in association with various international, national, and local organizations. Moving on, in Meghalaya, there are 3 autonomous district councils, ADCs, namely Khasi Hills Autonomous District Council, Jaintia Hills Autonomous District Council, and Garo Hills Autonomous District Council. Article 244.2 and Article 275.2, along with the provisions in the 6th schedule of the Constitution, outline the legislative, judicial, executive, and financial powers of the ADCs. The proposal note of this roundtable discussion aims to fill some knowledge gap in terms of research and policy dialogue on the role of the ADCs, and specifically aims to focus on 2 core questions. What are the key drivers and factors that are impacting on the capacity, functioning, and viability of ADCs? And what are some of the potential steps that could be taken in terms of further research and policy directions to address the identified issues? The challenge and issues faced will also be discussed within the roundtable discussion. Moving on, we have with us Mr. Aiban Swer, Director, MIG, Project Lead MLRF Government of Meghalaya, and Mr. Stephen Anurag AKC, NISG PPC, Government of Meghalaya, and Project Co-Lead MLRF. We also have with us the Meghalaya Legislative Research Fellows who would also be taking part and participating within the roundtable discussion. Henceforth, I would request Mr. Aiban Swer to moderate the session. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to this roundtable discussion on the topic that we have put for today. Just to give you an insight into what led to the formation of this MLRF. See, Meghalaya was created as a full-fledged state in 1972 by carving it from the erstwhile state of Assam. Now, when we created Meghalaya at that point of time, we created the Legislative Assembly, where we had 60 members who had joined in as were elected as the representatives. Over the years, the number of representatives have remained the same, but the quality of debates, the issues that were discussed, have not yet taken off to levels which we have seen are being going on in other places of the world. This year we celebrated 50 years of statehood. So it was very apt that the government of Meghalaya, in association with the Indian School of Business, we took up this initiative of creating a group of young professionals who would be assisting the MLAs in taking up the issues relevant with governance in the state. As we are all aware that legislators need not have educational qualifications to be able to be elected to office. Neither do they need any number of years of experience in public work to be able to do that. And over the years, we have seen that more and more people coming from diverse background are entering into the level of legislators in our state. This brings us to a situation where there is a huge variety in the capacity and capability of the members who are now sitting in the legislative. While this expectation is very high from them, yet we see that they are not able to deliver the kind of governance policies because the kind of rules, procedures, the data is growing faster day by day. So it was thought in the best interest of all that these legislators be provided with trained, qualified, young people who are independent from the payroll of the legislators, who will work independently from the legislators, but will be reporting to a certain institute, that is the Meghalaya Institute of Governance, who will be able to manage them, and they in turn will be able to provide a non-biased advice to the legislators on various issues that relates right from development in the respective constituencies, preparation for the assembly sessions, data regarding the schemes available, how to access them, and how do they monitor and make sure that the right people get these right programs. I'm joined with me here by Mr. Stephen Anurag. He has been a very passionate member of the team in guiding our young people towards this achieving this goal of negotiating, working closely with the legislators. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you.
And I would like to request Stephen first to kindly shed some more light on how we went about to create this group of young professionals who have been working so well in this MLRF program.
Yeah. Thank you, Aiban Swer. He has given a brief introduction about how we have come up with this Meghalaya Legislative Research Fellowship. In fact, it all started over a chat over coffee between Mr. Aiban and myself. He has been working with the state of Meghalaya and the local authorities in the field of soil and water conservation. And we've always been thinking about how well we can equip the legislators in terms of modern day data and research-oriented discussions in the Legislative Assembly. So it is then we have come up with this project proposal of having a legislative research fellowship with the state government, and which will be an independent research body, and where there won't be, as Mr. Aiban was mentioning, there won't be under the payroll of the legislators. It's going to be an independent body, and we also brought in the Bharati School of Public Policy under ISB to assist us, to help us in terms of research, and also organize outreach programs for the legislators and also our research fellows. Now, it's been 1 year through this journey of MLRF, and our fellows could successfully help the legislators of the state of Meghalaya in the 2 of the assembly sessions in providing basic data sets from their respective constituencies, and also help them draft questions during the assembly sessions. And our legislative fellows have been trained in terms of analytical writing, critical analysis, and also the financial budgets, because that's very important. We want our fellows and also the legislators to understand the core tenets of financial modeling of the government, and where the professors from ISB, economists from ISB have helped our MLRF team to develop these policy papers or white papers on budget and budget analysis. And throughout this 12 months, it's been a wonderful journey, and we have a lot of learnings, and there have been a lot of field visits, and a lot of collaborations also, and we're looking forward for the year ahead in having more collaborations and trying to come up with a policy research manual, and how other states can also learn from what this MLRF team is doing in Meghalaya. So it's a small state, but too many stories and unsung stories, I could say, through MLRF. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. See, Meghalaya is a state that has many layers of administrative authorities. So, right from a grassroots level, we have the clans, then we have the village, then we have some kind of CMships and Nokumas and dollarships. Many levels of traditional authorities are there, which then comes to the level of district administration, that is state government, and then, of course, other issues related with the union government and all. Now, to be able to maneuver through all these authorities needed someone, an institution that is acceptable to all. Now, the Meghalaya Institute of Governance, after having mandated to do this task, now has gone ahead and met with many of these traditional institutions. Now, the legislators here play a very important role because they overlap all these institutions. So we have an issue where now we have about 60 legislators, but we were able to recruit only about 12 fellows, which means that one fellow was attached with
Four.
5 legislators. So the question here is that we had put these legislators, irrespective of whether they belong to the ruling party or to the opposition, which is sometimes put our fellows in a very awkward situation where out of the 5 members who were allocated to them, a few could be in the ruling and a few could be in the opposition. So when the time came, they faced a few hurdles in this area. So now I would like to invite and request any of these fellows to please share their experiences of how they dealt with these legislators when they were attached with them. I would request first with Iba, perhaps you can start.
A very good morning, sir. Sir Aiban, Sir Anurag, and everyone here. Yes, we did face a lot of challenges during the assembly sessions while we were attached to both the parties. Some of the ruling people from the ruling party were actually hesitant to talk to us. And share what they want. So basically, it was mostly the opposition that were more close to us, who needed our help. So that is how we were, and that is how we're actually building rapport with these legislators.
So could you just give us the names of the legislators who you were attached, and individually, what was their response to your roles?
Okay, so I was attached to the Minister of Education, Sir Lakaman Rumboy. Then from the opposition, that time we had Shri Himalaya Shangpiang, then we had Sir Kimfa Marbanyang, then Samuel, and then Sir Burning Sangma. So out of all, I was very much working closely with Sir Himalaya Shangpiang and Sir Kimfa. So what I did for them during this session was I drafted speeches for them with the help of data provided by the Indian data portal, and also using mostly secondary research.
Okay. Next, can you share your experience?
Good morning, sir. Actually, I was attached to 5 legislators, so I had 3 opposition and 2 ruling. So I was attached more to, I had a close relationship with George Lingdo and Cha, since both of them, they have asked me to do a lot of work. So I drafted speeches and I also did a bit of research for some questions. So, but when I went to the ruling side, they were a bit hesitant to talk to me, and then, since I was attached to the opposition more.
Okay. So, during any time during your attachment with these MLAs, did they ever talk about the issues that were relevant with their respective constituencies?
Yes, with George, especially in Umroi.
Could you just highlight that?
There is this village called Minsan. Actually, they have a river there. So this river, before it was a very clean river. And now, since there are a few small-scale industries that were there, that have been set up near the rivers, so the rivers have been started to be polluted. So that is his one main concern that he is dealing in his constituency.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Sir Ivan, Mr. Stephen, and all my
Can you just
fellow...
mention your name also?
Yeah, I'm Motika Sinharambai. So I have to begin by saying that since this was a first initiative in the country, most legislators were not responsive at all. I would say, like, I was allotted to 5 MLAs, and out of the 5, 4 were not interested, or maybe, I don't know, because they lack the trust, because since it's a new initiative, I'm sure they already have their team who has prepared sufficient for them. So they lack the trust since we came in very sudden. So that way, I think maybe in the next year, in this year, it will be more robust. It will be more, there will be more interactions between us and the legislators. And I'm actually looking forward for a much more dynamic relation, especially through this program.
Was there any specific reason by which these legislators were apprehensive about engaging you closely in their activities?
I cannot say specifically, but I'll just generalize it. It's just the trust. Because since we were young, I'm sure they have a team of someone who's more close with them, who has been working with them for the past years, past 5, throughout their term. So that must have been, that relationship will definitely differ from us. So yeah, so we can expect that to be much better off in the coming years.
Can I ask something?
Yeah. So Stephen,
Yeah,
maybe come in here.
I mean, throughout this last year, I mean, Ivan G or myself, we've been asking, what more initiatives that we can get in to build this trust. It's more of a trust and confidence, because as he was also mentioning, so some of you have got both opposition and the ruling MLAs in your team. So since you have faced this particular trust thing that you feel, so what could be the possibilities that we'll have to intervene for this coming year to make it more robust?
I would say we have to be with them, work with them throughout the year. We shouldn't disappear most of the months and pop in suddenly, like how we have been in the last year. In the last year, we were engaged to them a week prior, and a week prior to talk to someone, to do something for someone, there's definitely going to be some misunderstanding and lack of that trust. So this year, I'm looking forward to engage with them since the beginning. So that way, there'll be much better relationship, I must say.
Yeah, I think it's a question of having too many MLAs with one person.
That can also be a possibility, yeah.
Because legislators have
Little ambiguity,
trust issues with everyone, not only with. So when one person is working with 5 other legislators, and who are randomly chosen, belonging to different political parties also, of course there is a question of uncertainty of how we can do that. So that is a lesson for us, how to go ahead. Yes.
My experiences with legislators, it wasn't too many because I was working with the ruling party legislators, and I think being in government, they already had the upper hand, the resources, everything that they needed. But when we had the workshop for legislators in Mohali, the time that we spent there with them, that sort of built that confidence, with them. They called us even after, asking us for help, or interacting with us, asking us for PPTs and all of that. So that time that we spent with them was a good time, I think, to sort of get to know each other and the work that we can do for one another. That inspired them a little bit.
Who were you allocated to?
I am allocated to the Chief Minister, Panyat's aim, Benedict Marak, and then Mr. Gavin.
So I think one reason why she is making that progress in that field is because the design of the program, which was done at ISB Mohali, was very interactive, which enabled our legislators as well as our fellows to work closely together. And we've never had that kind of opportunity by which we will be able to work very closely together. Perhaps for this upcoming new batch of legislators, we will look to do that not in Mohali, but we start that right from Shillong. During the orientation program for the legislators, we will be there and start that from the beginning. And hopefully we should be able to increase our numbers so that we don't have to look 1:5. Yeah. So.
Good morning, sir. I am Lizzie Panwar. So my experience throughout the year, starting from the first session, I had informal, discussions with the legislators. Of course, I have to highlight something here, which I believe is true for all of us. Being a team of 12, now 11 of us, we come from diverse backgrounds, and there have been times when we were, given certain issues which, let's say, I will not know, because not all of us can be experts in one field. So being, together as a team, we helped each other, and that is something that I am really grateful for throughout the year. We've learned a lot from each other, And even during the sessions as well, I remember during the first session, the budget session, there was to one of the legislators who I was associated to, Mr. Saukme. He brought up the issue on employment. And I remembered it was my colleagues who, we came together and we helped each other in finding data and all of that. So that really helped. And then in the second session, the autumn session, one of the legislators who, I highlight here, Kong Ampreen Lingdo. I remembered I had a discussion with her during one of those days during the sessions. And we discussed a lot of things, like especially how women representatives should be, there should be more women representatives in the assembly, us being from the matrilineal society and all of that. And I remembered one point which she highlighted, and I feel, it's something that we need to, we should be, maybe this would help us in, us getting to, getting more time with the legislators, not just a week or a month, or like my colleagues have highlighted, a short period of time, but actually getting, into informal discussions with them, meeting them on a regular basis, that would actually bridge the gap. That's my observations.
Hello to everybody. My name is Joel. The experience that we shared with the legislators has not been that much this year, and I believe that that was because a lot of us did not have that interaction or did not have that. We weren't we did not really get to the opportunity to meet them personally and to talk about the fellowship or to tell them about like what we could help. But during the Mohali workshop that we had, we got to interact with a lot of the legislators, and after the workshop, a lot of the legislators were more comfortable and at ease to share their requirements, be it with the budget session or other office work. So they would call us and talk to us. But that was a little later this year. So I believe that in the coming year, with all of the trainings that ISB has given us, and as Lizzie had pointed out, a lot of us are new to this field of public policy, and we have come from different backgrounds, but now we are more confident and equipped with finding data and doing a better research. So I believe that in the coming year, with all of these skills that we have been given, we would be able to help the legislators even more efficiently. And I think that this year has also helped us build a decent, I would say, relationship with the legislators, since we are now talking to them once a while, I guess, so they would be more confident. And I believe that this year was a little bit difficult for them to kind of have the time for us because of the elections and all of that. So I believe, and I'm optimistic that this year would have more better work relationship with all the MLAs and the state legislatures.
Okay, judging by what you have stated, I think one of the reasons by which there is this not able to connect closely, and perhaps the location from where we function and where the legislators sit. Perhaps if we, in the coming year, we look at the situation where you sit in the place where the legislators also sit. So we have seen this, and I've also spoken with the Honorable Speaker of the Legislative Assembly that a certain space will be provided for all the fellows within the assembly building, so that legislators do not need to search for you or call me for I need this person, so that directly you'll be able to connect them. And I think if all of us are seeing each other frequently within the same campus, that'll make our relationships also closer, yeah. much closer, right? Yeah, I think that's what. Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
Good morning to all. Sir, so what I wanted to share about my experience was that during the budget session, I was assisting a legislator who had asked me to prepare a brief on one of the urban missions. So I had a very good experience learning and interacting with her. But unfortunately, after the submission of the write-up, there was hardly any contact post the session. So I think legislators have an understanding that beyond the session, we're no longer attached to them. So once we submit a write-up or once we assess them, there's literally no follow-up after that. So how have we performed, whether we have satisfied their expectations and all, we don't get any feedback. So I think that also deters us from participating again later on. So I think allocating some time to both fellows and legislators to sit together and discuss, I think that is one of the factors that's missing here. We really need to spend some time together to understand the complexity of the situation before we participate in the assembly, so that at least we can partially, or maybe not fully, but at least partially come to a conclusion regarding all the complex issues that are discussed in the assembly. We do not get time to discuss with the legislators. Whatever they are planning to say in the assembly, we do not get time to discuss with them. So I think what is majorly lacking here is some time allocation between the fellows and legislators.
Okay. Stephen, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, for the thing, ideally, we need to have a pre-session before the sessions with the honorable legislators, who have been allocated, so that you'll understand what is that they would like to ask the questions and what is that they require. So even I've got many calls from our respective fellows when they said they're asking too many questions and we don't have this required data sets, and then we have to go finding for data set. We have to call ISB faculty for that. So in order to curtail this, I think as Aiban was mentioning, we need to create a year plan with a very designated, not only the office space or logistics, but also what is that we're going to do during this holiday season for the assembly sessions. We are not we don't have a regular session as well. So what is that we're going to do? What is that the honorable legislator is looking for? What is his focus on for this year? Is it water? Is it industry? Or is it manufacturing sector? Is it agriculture? So that the particular fellow also can try to equip subject or data sets in that particular regard, and then have regular interactions with that respective legislator.
Okay, thank you. Hira?
Thank you. I am Hirak Sharma. First of all, thank you to Shri Aiban Sirji and Stephen Sirji for actually coming up with this initiative in Meghalaya. As we know, this is one of its first kind in Meghalaya. I mean, there has been previously fellowships that were there for the MPs, but this was first time in the country for the legislators, MLAs. So I am Hirak Sharma once again. So there has been many discussions already picked up by my colleagues and my fellow mates. But yes, starting off with the experience, like thanking ISB also for equipping us with data or equipping us with capacity building trainings. So during the first budget session, I was allotted to 5 MLAs, including the Deputy Chief Minister, Preston Song, Shri Eugenson MLA, and Pongseng Marak MLA, Shitlang Pale MLA, and Sostenes Sutun MLA. So one of the incidents that I want to share is where during the budget session, and one of the football stadium that was allotted 150 crore for one single football stadium. And I remember Dr. Sridhar Kundu, me, and Eugenson Lingdo, we had a discussion on how to decentralize these funds and make it more equipable for more grassroots areas, more grassroots sports facilities and all. So these kind of discussions, informal discussions, kept on happening with the legislators. And like Stephen sir mentioned about the policy research manual, these are few of the initiatives that we can look forward for the coming year, which would help us understanding better research and better, I think we need more constituency visits also, so that we understand the need-based assessment of actually what the people from the community wants from their constituent leader. So I think these are few things that I'm looking forward for the upcoming year, but it has been a good year to start, and since we were the first batch, so there were challenges, but I think we did overcome some of them which were in our capacity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good morning to all, Sir Stephen and Sir Aiban, and to all my colleagues here. So the first year of the fellowship has been like a learning curve for all of us fellows also. We are being the MIG and being part of MLRF, we got a chance, it's a great learning space for us, not just from ISB, who is our knowledge partner, but there was a lot of peer learning. There was a lot of field visits that were facilitated by MIG. We also got a chance to interact with government officials on key issues that we wanted to have more information on. And also, we get a chance to learn from our legislators. So during the budget session and the autumn session, I got attached to different legislators. Like in budget session, I got a different set, 5 legislators, and autumn session, I got another one, another different. So based on these interactions, and what I learned is that the legislators, what we told that it's important to understand also is to understand the mind of the legislators. What are the key issues that the legislator wanted to, they care about, they wanted more information on. And besides this, also as the fellowship, I thought that maybe we can play a more greater role. For example, if any department release a draft policy, suppose the mental health policy at that time, or another policy, perhaps the fellowship can provide, like there's a platform to discuss more on that draft policy before, and submit our opinions also to the department concerned. Even though we might not be part of the drafting, of that policy, but we can be part of that, start some kind of a discussion on that, based on it. And also I thought that since we attended the sessions during the assembly sessions, we got a chance to also observe how the sessions, the legislative business took place. And also we've seen there were some issues, also there were some questions that were submitted to the department, but then it was addressed to the wrong department. So the question was not answered on the floor of the assembly because it was addressed. So there were these issues that we thought maybe in the next year, we will have more chance, more opportunities to get to solve it or to try to work something towards it.
No, also celebrating some of the, some of the contributions that our fellows have done. For an example, like I remember Ibalari had wrote an entire budget speech for her respective MLA, and it was actually read out the entire way that she wrote. Also some of the budget governor's address highlighting like health or education or infrastructure development, which I prepared for 2 of the legislators, and I saw them like, countering with those, and some of the database gaps that previously we observed in the assemblies while watching the videos, because we couldn't attend the previous assembly sessions, but we saw that those somewhere a very thin gap has been filled up by the efforts of the fellows and all our mentors and everyone. So yeah, celebrating that little contribution.
Yeah. Agatha?
Hi everyone, I'm Agatha Armarak. First, I would like to talk about the first year, that is last year. So I got attachment with 5 MLAs, which 2 of them were ministers. So basically, monsoon session was not, the budget session was not much of experienced for me because I didn't got to interact too often with them. But then the autumn session was more of learning for me, and I gained a lot of experience because I was working closely with PHE Minister, Baranington L. Tongkar, and I was working with one of the MLA, Sir Saleng Esangma. So we were allotted like 5 days prior to the session. So those time when we, the first day when we contacted them for the work allotments and all, so they gave us work. So I was very, like working for Baranington as well as working for Baseleng at the same time. I was given lots of work. So I had it was a very challenging since both of them doesn't belong to the same party. And then if I'm working with Sir Saling, he would ask me, like to draft questions or to like ask probable questions, which was given by the other, which I'm working with. I was working with Sir Zenit also. I haven't allotted any work with him, but then the probable questions is from Sir Zenit, and then the PHE minister has to answer for that. So it's a bit of challenging for me because since I'm working with Baranington also, again I have to work with Sir Zenit. So hopefully, like I didn't get much of work from Sir Zenit, but then Sir Renington, I worked with him a lot, and then it was a bit challenging for me since I had to work with both. So the questions that he's asking, I already know, and then the answers that Sir is replying, I already know. And then there are also instances where he would ask me the probable answers, and then, yeah, or checking the probable answers prepared by the department. I would also have to add more of questions on that so that I would know what the opposition would be asking on PHE schemes and other issues. So I'm hoping of more interaction with the other members this year and more of field visits so that we'll understand in depth about the constituent and then the issues that they're facing and how to bring about, how to address those issues to the respective MLAs so that we can bridge the gap between the people and the respective legislators. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. After listening to your experiences, now we have a situation here where a fellow is representing both sides. So as he has clearly mentioned, it's happened to most of them that you create the questions for the opposition and you have to answer the same questions if you happen to be a fellow who is attached to the minister to whom the question is directed. So you're working both sides of the coin, right? Now, one important factor here is that every answer that you draft for reply, you need to collect data. And for that, most of our young fellows, they had approached the various government departments to collect the data so that we can provide those different kinds of schemes and different kinds of that is going. Now, we have always faced difficulty in getting information out of government organizations because the structure has been that everybody has been working in silos. Everybody collects data, but data has not been shared. Earlier today we were discussing about creating a lot of data centers, but if that data center is not made publicly available, then it is no use. Similarly here, if you go to the agriculture department like agriculture, you ask for the different kinds of crops, whatever, they have. Other department have, but sometimes it is not easy, so it makes it very difficult for us to collect that. So now, since we're talking here, I would like you to share that experience because what we're talking is a learning experience by which ISB, MIG, yourselves, and everybody watching this program will be able to understand that how do we overcome these small programs, these small problems, which actually should not have been a problem in the first place. Now, can someone tell us what were the difficulties you faced while approaching the government line departments for information?
I'll answer just a small section of that. I would like to say that most of the departments that I visited, the data are all manual. And for us to get a certain data, like for example, I'll just come up directly with ADCs, okay, since that is the abstract that's mentioned, so it's good that we come to that as well. The ADCs, most of the data are manual. It is impossible for us to get even the slightest information, and me and a colleague from MIG had gone there, visited, make a number of calls for just a small data, but that was unavailable, all because the data are all kept manual in that particular department. So maybe the departments have to be equipped first with the current way of work, because many departments are still functioning the traditional way. So for us to be able to contribute something for the goodness of the society, certain departments have to be equipped first. Then it will ease our work, and it will definitely lead to a much more growth and development overall. Thank you.
Stephen, how do you suggest we overcome that problem?
Actually, we have been in touch with few institutions, including the ISB, for that. But the major challenge here is dissemination of the data. And there is some sensitive data which the government doesn't really like to be put open. And there's some data which can be under RTI. And we can try to come up with a dashboard, which, kind of an open source library where the available data sets can be useful. Our fellows have been using open source data, many aspects actually to get this, for the other states as well. So recently we're trying to come up with some environmental aspects. So they've been accessing reports of Nepal or Rajasthan or Andhra Pradesh per se, but we don't have such kind of a data portal. We don't have an open source library. So I think development of such a dashboard would really be helpful.
Okay. Anyone from this table share your experience?
So I think I wouldn't go so far as to say that the legislators do not understand the concept of research, but I think there should be a way to sort of help them understand the parlance, the language that is used when we talk about research, because it's sometimes when we had gone through different data sets, the data available was very cluttered, in different file formats. So we have to sort of clean that up. We have been taught by ISB how to clean up data and to simplify that data and to analyze that data. So they should, I think, sort of understand the power of that knowledge, so that you can up the ante with respect to different speeches or dialogues, debates in the House or even outside of the House. That is what I feel.
Okay.
I think I should intervene.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you, Aiban Sir and Stephen. Actually, it is a really good work that you did in the last 1 year. And this model actually really an example for the outside world. And it is a fantastic model. And you are trying your best to make the model successful. You are trying to reach out the legislator, trying to make them learn with your fellows, and of course this is the first stage. You are starting the program, and probably year on ahead. That of course there will be many more changes, many more reforms that you are thinking of. And as many of the fellows, they stated some kind of gaps, either interacting with the legislators or the opposition. Of course, I also faced some kind of difficulties when people asked me some kind of information. I said that give this information to this legislator and give the other information to because there are different views, different opinions, because I only attended one budget session. But coming back, there are of course many gaps. We have to go ahead, and our model should be very kind of substantive and must be sustainable. And of course, there are many gaps with either in terms of data. And another thing that it is not exactly the duty, we cannot make the department learn how to clean up the data and how to get the data. It is our duty. And we have to see, we have to learn how to get the data in maximum, we optimize our capacity. Of course, whenever we are interacting with the legislator, we need as much as information possible. And we have to see that which are the sources, that these are the possible sources that we have to get the data and provide the information. Of course, open data source is one of the, but to build an open data source, you have to find the source of information. And if the source of information is lagging, we cannot create one open data source. So we have to see there are different sources. And the question is that in 1 day or in 1 year, it is not, of course, possible to train all these legislators to how to mechanize the data, make it readable format. It is not, of course, this is not 1 year work. And also there are some technicians which are on the other side. Those who are available, probably we are taking the help of ISB and India Data Portal. That's a good, because this is the mechanization part, the other part is doing. But question is that my point is that to make it sustainable, there is need of close interaction with either faculty or a mentor. Who is the point of source, who can provide the data? Every time you have the problem with the data or a problem with the information, that's the legislator wants. This is the person, Stephen is the only person that he can provide, this is the person that you have to go and see. So one common point, source of information, source of any kind of instructions or suggestions, which can help them to better interact and better interact with legislators. That could be one of the solution. So at this point, I feel this solution, this is lacking. Of course, they are all brilliant fellows. Most of the time, I find some of the mails from Aiban and all others. So they are asking the data, and of course, but for the last 6-7 months, I have not got any kind of mail or message from them that, okay, sir, we need this kind of information. So please continue with this kind of efforts, that whenever you need something, okay, someone is there and you can at least get. Of course, we are busy in other works and but please, and to you, sir, if there is a point of information source and who can instruct, that can help, that would be much better. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Since we're talking about data, while we physically look at Meghalaya and see that there is a large number of development that is happening across the state. The health condition looks good, the cleanliness looks good, the education looks good, we have some highly educated people, but then when it comes to statistics, that eventually is collected by the Government of India and reflected in the surveys that they project, we tend to come to the bottom. Now perhaps if we can understand, since data cleaning has been shown to you, how do you clean up data by ISB, we have to look at this, and issues like SDG goals, where our ranking is low. The recent report which was given, our ranking is very low among the small states. We are supposed to be one of the best model states, but in terms of data, we are ranking very low. So now, how can these fellows, now taking leverage of being close with the legislators, ensure that we create the data, we provide the data by which it can project our state as a progressive state and not lying at the bottom of the bundle. Can you suggest something, Stephen?
We have been creating a lot of awareness or sensitization about these SDG goals, but it's the tribe. I mean, as Dr. Sida is mentioning, everyone is busy in their own work. So what is a priority for the legislature is also something that I think we are failing to understand as a team. What is the priority for the honorable legislator? Is it doing research? Is it acquiring data? Or is it talking effectively at the assembly? What is that the legislator wants? Is something that we'll have to come up with an aspirational survey, kind of a brief survey among the MLAs to understand what is that they require, and only then we will be able to understand what if the legislator is not really interested with SDGs. What is his interest is not towards making Meghalaya as the top, but his assembly constituency as a top front runner among the 60. So then we can't really brush him or push him on those things. So we'll have to identify very scopic. We can't ideally include everything under one umbrella and try and have it a goal, because as you rightly mentioned, last year and all we were at the top ranking among the smaller states, and this year we're going down. So it's something that's where we're lacking. There's a gap in it.
So what Stephen said, very correct, because as I mentioned when we started, that our legislators are a diverse group of persons who have come to the field.
Right.
Now their ideas of what development means, as we've discussed, their ideas of what progress means, their idea of what sustainability means, could differ tremendously from amongst all the 60 of them.
Right.
And to expect them to come up with original ideas may not be possible perhaps. So maybe as part of the fellowship, we could develop a basket of choices. We develop a basket of choices by which legislators are shown, see, this is the choices we have. From among these choices, which are the ones that you really feel interest you? Which are the ones that you really feel that you need to be hands-on on this? And which are the ones that we can find a way how to work together to help? Because their goals, their ambitions should also blend with the ambition of the state and the country. We cannot just leave it at that. So I think that is one very important. So what Hirak was mentioned there about a constituency visit. Now, I think that is one aspect by which we had not done in the last 1 year, because we have not had a time to go for constituency visit. Now, one thing very important about this is that unless we as fellows actually see the situation in the respective members' constituency, we will only be listening and believing in what he's saying. And he could be painting a very rosy picture of his constituency, whereas the reality will be different. So perhaps one of the next activities that to be done by the fellows once we start with review batches, to actually go and visit the constituency, independent of the legislator, and get a total feedback of actually what is the problem that they face, and what are the basket of choices that we need to put there so that he can also understand this, right? Hirak, could you comment on that? Do you think that will be possible?
Yes, I definitely think it will be one of very good idea to understand at least what the constituency people want and what the legislator, how does he map out the issues and come up with those issues. Like how both of you were mentioning about legislators' capacity or even understanding what they want. Because first of all, there is, I think, somewhere we are yet to understand that what is they want, and like how you mentioned basket of choice. So maybe we can, why not have capacity building aspects for them with their choices of interest that they want. And like even mentioning about the government data, I remember Agatha and I went for some education data and we got back the same data that is there in UDICE, which even we can access. So I think like just not even looking at the ministry level data or other states, we can just take example from our neighbor Assam, like over the years, how they have built a very nice website, or even Assam portal in that way. So where all the informations are accumulated in a very wonderful form of a dashboard. So if coming up with these Meghalaya portal or this kind of initiatives, I feel like everything is at, no, it's fine. I think everything is at one place, and we don't have to run around for data, asking for the department each and every time. So it's handy for us and also for the legislators and also for people who would be using these data sets for their disposal. So I think these are a few things that I feel like we should highlight as a collective.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I'll add something to that. Since the beginning of the program, this program was basically meant for evidence-based. And we understand that a constituency consists of a large number of villages. So to add to what Hirak is saying, the constituency visit is very much mandatory for us because there are many villages, even in my constituency itself, there are many villages which are ignored. That's obvious because they're too far away from the main headquarters, so and so. So it'll be very important to identify the much needed areas, the much needed villages, which have been ignored quite a while. So this constituency visit will really add towards development. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
So adding to the constituency visits, I feel personally when you have a talk with villagers, especially from the rural villages, they don't have so much of knowledge when it comes to they're not aware of the schemes available to them. So maybe if we can help them in that aspect, because of course we know that many departments would go and giving them awareness when it comes to schemes and all, but a lot of them are not really aware of the schemes that are available. So I think that is one of the things that we could help.
So I'd also like to add, like, in one of the training sessions that we had, I think in order to be successful, or the idea of success that we wanted had to be backcasted. And I think the same can be done for any kind of implementation of schemes or even the choices that you were talking about. If we can sort of backcast from implement in the process, how we're going to implement it, if it's even feasible in the process, to do it, and then sort of come back to the choices that we are limited to based on that kind of, based on that process.
Okay.
Sir, I would just like to add to what Motika just said about the constituency visits and the villages that are hard to find on any data portal that is even available in departments. There was work that we were assigned with recently on district levels and finding out villages and their like what the village is about, the district is about, and writing a write-up on the villages and the district. There were a lot of things that was missing in the data that we found out in the different state portals. So I think that this collection of data and finding data is one issue that we're facing difficulty in, because it's really difficult to get those information. Even the departments don't have that. So if we could personally go and see for ourselves in those constituency and the villages, or the how the people there in those villages are living, and the kind of lifestyles or the kind of commodities that they would need, it would be really helpful for us to even help in giving out these reports to even the departments. Maybe the departments would be really happy if we could even do that, because their work would be a little more lesser, and also we could give this information even to the legislators. So I think that in the coming year, the visits would be really, really beneficial for all of us. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So we have very less time now. Is there anybody here who would like to ask a question? Yeah, please.
Not a question. I joined the session late under the impression because I was in the other auditorium.
Can you just mention your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Pradeep Gun. I teach public policy at Jindal Global University. I've been listening to this conversation, and I heard one of your comments. You mentioned, I think it was your Aiban. You are Stephen. That there needs to be some kind of aspiration mapping. The legislators' aspiration mapping.
Yeah.
I think one more component that I think should be added or could be added, of course, depending on how it is seen, is is there a mapping of the aspirations between the residents of a particular constituency and what their legislators are thinking? So is there a one-on-one match? So for example, sanitation could be an issue which most of the residents of a particular constituency would need to focus on. However, their representative might be thinking something else, which is diagonally opposite, right? So even though we elect our leaders, are our leaders choosing to represent our opinion? And I'm not sure what is the kind of leverage that the fellows have, or the whole representative has, in terms of conducting that kind of survey, a little survey. There are a couple of data sets available, not couple of, at least one that I'm aware of, and I have to see whether that data set also has information from a pilot, some observations from Meghalaya for that, but I'm not sure. But I think it is a pan-India data, so I would assume that there will be some observations. That has some information about aspirations of teenage girls. So this is a very specific section of a demography that we are talking about. But could there be similar surveys that could be conducted to kind of figure out the aspirations, and then kind of taken, the organization is taking it up. Thank you.
Thank you. So before I wrap up, I'd like to give Stephen 2 minutes.
What this gentleman who teaches public policy, what he says is, that's what we've been discussing, mapping the aspirations. I'm afraid we have not mapped the aspirations of the constituents, because it's a huge task, and it's very cost intensive. And the data that we collect, and the data that we have to map, and the data that we have to clean, it requires a lot of analysis and a lot of understanding for it. I suppose we did a brief survey on the dietary habits of Meghalaya through our MLRF and MIG a few months ago, and our fellows can they can witness, they can express the challenges that we face to collect data. It's very variable. So with regards to that, so this is another aspect of a module that we'll have to include in survey collection, which has not been part of it. So I think we'll have to add this as well, because the legislators will be happy to know what their constituents are feeling like or feeling about by the end of the day. Are they happy? If that is what they want, or this is not they want. They want a very easy information. They don't want papers and pages of information. They just not, are my constituents happy? Or they're not happy. Why are they not happy? Or what is the matter? This is what the information that they look for. And we'll have to give it in a very strategic, research-driven data for this. I think that is something that we can add in the coming year.
Okay,
yes, thank you.
And just to wind up our wonderful discussion, roundtable discussion here, there's been a lot of learning today, which I think which we could have done this also many times. We need to do this very frequently in the presence of our legislators and other government officials. Now, considering that we need to take this forward, we need to increase the manpower of our fellows also, so that the reach is more. We need to gather more information, more data, and as rightly said, this what we were saying, talking to the MLAs, finding exactly the aspiration of what do they want, what the people want. So we need to take MLRF to the next stage. Next stage means not going up, but going down. Go down to the autonomous district councils, meet with the legislators there, go down to the village heads, the chiefs, the chieftains, meet with all of them. Because we, from the Meghalaya Institute of Governance, we have done a number of various programs. So we have done a program where we work on 500 young people from 3 blocks on adolescent girls, providing adolescent young girls with life skills. Working with people in government at the cutting edge level, right from the level of a Gram Sebak, a constable, a Gram Sevika, a soil conservation demonstrator, or small young people at the cutting edge, working with them on what we call ethics in governance. How do we deliver these ethics? How the people at the end do this? Then we work on people where we work on leadership, village leadership, government servant, people in government leadership, leadership of young people, leadership among the NGOs. We have a lot of NGOs, we have a lot of pressure groups, but what is the kind of leadership that is going to take us? Because the future of our legislators will come from the leadership that come from these organizations that are at the grassroots level. So unless we come up with this, the lessons that we have done, the works that we have done are something which will be the foundation blocks to having proper legislators at the end of the day. 10, 15 years down the line, the young people who are leaders of NGOs will be the legislators. The 10, 15 years down the line, the people who are legislators now at the autonomous district councils, they will be rising up and reaching the legislative level. So we need to work with all of them from now, so that it'll make things much easier. So thank you once again to Bharati School Public Policy. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, everyone who's been here. It's been a wonderful discussion, and I hope we have got a lot of learnings to take back and share. Thank you.
Thank you.